Madden holiday is here and we will play all night. Calling sick and sound sincere, in tackles will delight. The fridge is packed with drink and meat, the taste of victory sure is sweet.
So, yeah, obviously, this is after a pretty long delay of about, I'd say, 3 to 4 weeks, say, somewhere around there. Anyway, yes, after a fairly long delay, I'm back with another Madden little recap thing, talking about a little bit of what's happened with Face of the Franchise mode and, a few other bits and pieces here and there that'll hopefully pad this out to a decent enough runtime for everyone. Anyway, the I guess the reason for the delay was pretty simple. There was just way too much on my plate. I mean, I had the Venom review, the Bond review, the Halloween Kills review, the Dune review, and then the Eternals review. And then in between that, of course, I had to review, 15 issues of Executive Assistant Iris. So, yeah, you could see where that just kind of took up a major chunk of time. Just trying to get everything done on time and, everything out in a timely manner. And anyway, as we now kind of delve back into what happened with the Face of the Franchise mode, as you're seeing right now, I'm playing the New England Patriots as that was the week 2 opponent of the Jets. This was done well before that. Like I said, I meant to get things a little bit quicker, but really didn't. I did play the week after this with the Broncos as well, but that was a much more abbreviated game. Most of what you're going to be seeing is from this week, this particular game, and then a few other ones that I played down the line. I've actually gotten ahead now in the scheduling of everything, but I'm like 3 weeks ahead of what they would be playing this week, if that makes any sense. I'll get more into it later. So yeah, basically the storyline going into this week is like your agent who's out trying to land more clients. Looks like she's about to land a second one here. Your hype man has some appointments for your bye week. I can't even remember what they were because I've actually played the bye week at this point. But I also expanded the quarters out to 9 minutes because it kind of helps in achieving a lot of the game day goals. It's a lot easier when you have more time with it. Obviously, art did not imitate life here, where the Patriots absolutely creamed the Jets. I've gotten the Jets up to a somewhat respectable 3-loss record. I think I'm at 9-3 now as I'm recording this. I did throw some interceptions in the game, so at this point, 2 weeks into the season, I was about 50% better than Zach Wilson was. I had 208 yards and 3 touchdowns, and yeah, that's basically what was going on there. After that, we had week 3 against the Broncos. I threw 3 more interceptions, so now I am on par with Zach Wilson at that point. I did lead the Jets to a comeback victory at 318 yards and 4 touchdowns. Nothing too spectacular there. Anyway, as that was also happening, another thing happened where I had to upgrade my video editing software. That's why I believe it's somewhere around either Halloween Kills or Dune. Like, the font suddenly got really funky when I was putting up the grades. Like, the one you see for the opening title sequences, obviously, those are all pre-made, so I just drag and drop them into my timeline. So, it makes for easy editing. And after that, it's a little bit different. So, basically, what has happened with my old video editing software is it just started, like, crashing really bad, and then suddenly I couldn't import anything at all. It would just, I would drag and drop it or click import, and then nothing would happen, and then it would crash again, and I'd have to start over again. And, finally I just kind of said, nuts to all that, and it's like, well, might as well just look into upgrading the software because the newer version just came out. And so, yeah, one of the things is, like I said, when I make my title sequences, those are all pre-made. So I could just drag and drop them in. That's why the font really hasn't changed too much. But in this case, when I was starting to do that, and I was starting to lay in things, they changed how they did it. It's not too much of a change. It's just where once if you were trying to do a drop shadow effect, you could just only color the outside part. Well, now you can color all 3 parts, whatever you want. And it's a little bit... They basically list all 3 of them in a row, and I clicked on the first one, which only did, like, the little bits of the outside borders. That's why it started kind of looking like this, instead of like this. The one you're seeing right now is, when you do it in a more proper setting. And then, you could even make it look like this if you wanted to. So, yeah, that's what was happening there. Anyway, on to a few more other things, and then back to the game. in a nutshell, for those of you who are wondering, I use Pinnacle as my video editing software. It was one that I saw an internet personality named Ed Glazer, who his channel is Neon Harbor. He does a lot of he's the guy who helped bring, I believe it was Turkish Star Wars to the United States, and he covers. He used to do a show that covered a lot of the wacky foreign versions of American properties and stuff like that. So, in case you're wondering who that was. But he said that was a good one for novice editors rather than jumping into something a bit more formal like Sony Vegas or Adobe Premiere. I have diddled a little. Probably shouldn't have used that term. I have dabbled a little bit in Adobe Premiere, but I didn't really like it too much. It was the trial version. And then famously, I did Sony's, not Vegas, but their budget line of video editing software at one point, and that was a really, really clunky come across. That's my infamous Conan, the Frost Giant's Daughter review. The first one, I then went back and redid that in a Redux form, which is a much, much better version. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, so far I'd say the new version of Pinnacle is okay. It's not spectacular. It's been working fine. It's having the same problem the previous version I had did, which is occasionally it will just crash in the middle of everything. It's like if you load too many files into it, it can't handle all the massive uploads or anything like that, especially if it's a lot of video files, which take up a lot of bandwidth. So, like I said, if you load too many files into it, it crashes, and then when you redo your project, when it exports at kind of these gargantuan bandwidths, which it really shouldn't, if that makes any sense. Like, what would in previous versions of Pinnacle maybe only be like a gig or a gig and a half for what I'm doing. I don't change any of the video settings. It's the same video settings no matter what, but it's outputting at like 4.5 to 5 gigs sometimes, and it's like, why? I just and then other times it's like it'll just output normally, and it does that for a while until it crashes again the next time, and then we start over with this whole mess again.
The designers of Sega's all-new NFL 95 wanted you to know what it feels like in a real NFL game. So they gave it the real teams, the real players, and a brand new feature that lets you see 65 yards downfield, just like in real life.
Go, Dave, go!
Oh my God.
Sorry, Mr. Montana.
There's even a new trading feature.
I just bought a house.
I'm looking forward to the season like a slug looks forward to the rain. I'm talking about the NFL season. I'm talking about brawn and brain, Reggie White, Steve Young, Barry Foster, and players with much longer names. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the season, and especially the two-point conversion. I wrote that.
Okay, now I guess back to the game coverage. It's around this time that we suddenly started getting abbreviated games again. I mean, the games against the Titans and the Falcons were both abbreviated, where I think against the Titans I played the entire second half, and then against the Falcons I only did the fourth quarter. And I was supposed to, in the last one, I was supposed to come back and or stage some type of 14-point comeback, and I almost did, but came up just short, and so they lost their first game. And it was in driving rain. That was the other thing. That was the other big point. And then some really weird things happened. Like, for example, I'm supposed to get Jamison Crowder a big game because he's coming off the injury list, except he wasn't coming off the injury list. He played in the last game, so I don't know where they got that from. And then he was on the injury list again, and he wasn't playing at all in the game against the, it wasn't the Texans. It wasn't the Bills. That was, I think it was the Colts. I think that was it. That was the game I was supposed to, yeah. And that got weird too. And then suddenly, I think it was the game against the Texans. That was the one now he needed the pick-me-up, even though he was hurt or wasn't hurt. And that's where it started to get really weird. After that, I had another abbreviated game against the Bills. That one, I had to stage I think it was a 20-point comeback in the, I believe it was the fourth quarter. I may be wrong on that. And again, I wound up coming up a little bit short there. In that case, I I played both offense and defense. I got around just playing only offense most of the time. You can set it up. It was something I discovered in between weeks right there. So, yeah, that's kind of where that was all going. And then, of course, we played the Patriots again and blew them all out a second time, unlike in real life. And so, yes, my New York Jets are sitting prettier than the actual New York Jets. If I may go back to that Bills game very briefly here, that is another thing a funny thing that happened that struck me. It's one of those things where it's like I was supposed to get a certain number of I think I was supposed to score like 5 touchdowns or something like that. I came up well short because their defense insulted my offensive coordinator, and we're supposed to rally because we're all family. Again, another sort of weird factoid stat thing they tried to throw in, and it didn't really work because, or was it the Colts? I can't remember. It was something like that. Someone insulted the offensive coordinator, and I was trying to avenge him in some way. And yeah, it didn't really work at that. And it's like, yeah, maybe just have me throw for like 350 yards, because that's way easier to do in the game than throwing for that many touchdowns, because every so often it makes a bit more sense to just run the ball than to throw it and run fly patterns on the goal line and stuff like that, because I think that's what doomed me against Atlanta, because it was against someone, because I was supposed to get that many amount of touchdowns, and it's like and the game went to overtime, and I was in position to just kick a field goal, but it's like, no, I have to score a touchdown because you said I had to get touchdowns to get the Super Choco Fudgy bonus, and that didn't really pan out at all. So I guess I hope that makes some sense there. Okay, last 2 things here, and then we'll do kind of a wrap up after the next break. Anyway, another thing that happens in between weeks is you sort of plan what you're doing to promote yourself, or what you do in between weeks. There's team building stuff. There's you could practice a little bit longer. You could treat your offensive line to a dinner. You work out with your mentor, Carter Landry, a tight end, or you you could do charity work and stuff like that. They don't really show it outside of a few practice sessions. What they really do more is this is what you did, and here's all the XP or street cred or reliability or whatever it is you wind up building in that scenario. I'm not entirely sure where the skill tree applies, and I also haven't figured out what exactly I'm supposed to do to get my guy to change his outfit in between breaks. He's been walking around in the same velour jumpsuit for the last 3 months now. He should probably get that, cleaned. Anyway, also, I apologize if you maybe hear any, distortion things. It's noise from the computer. Sometimes the mic picks it up and sometimes it doesn't. I try to trim it out as best I can, but when you're dealing with audio files that are getting as long as these, it's a little bit harder than usual. So, okay, I think that kind of wraps up this little session, at least this part, and we'll come back for a little wrap-up after the next break.
It made, Randy. You have no idea how it was back in the Genesis days. We couldn't think, couldn't adjust. Look what you got. My receivers couldn't do that, and our defense sucked. You'll never get beat by the same whack play over and over. You better appreciate what you got, Junior. Hey, let me go.
I think Ojimbo got hold of a bad taco.
Hey, I'm a legend.
NFL 2K on Sega Dreamcast. It's thinking.
Well, Coach did it. Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, it was their year. Good party, though.
Yeah, this is my last Super Bowl party. Next year, I'm playing. You can throw it.
What? No way. I'm playing.
Well, if I'm playing and you playing, who gonna throw the party? Warren Sapp.
Okay, so the next video after this is going to be the random trade review on Birds of Prey of Like Minds. The next movie review will be Encanto. At some point, too, the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye on Disney Plus dropped, so that'll probably be out the next week, somewhere around that time. And, of course, WWE's Survivor Series. And I think there might be another Madden video in between those. Again, just kind of, we're going to need to talk a lot about what's been happening in the professional wrestling landscape recently. So, yeah, so we'll be talking wrestling over footage of me playing a football game. So, yeah, I guess we got a lot to deal with there as we have Survivor Series coming up, and even I had to be reminded that Survivor Series was coming up, and then there's not even a pay-per-view in December, but yeah, again, we'll tackle that in a later bit. So, anyway, see you all next time. Have some fun.